Hello, my name is David Wolowidnyk, and thank you for tuning in to the BC Liquor Store YouTube channel. I'm an award-winning bartender, a spirit educator, and the resident cocktail stylist of Taste Magazine. In 2021, we marked the 100th anniversary of the BC Liquor Stores, and to celebrate, each of the preceding decades will be represented by a beautiful classic cocktail in the magazine. In some cases, that cocktail will have come from the decade it represents, and in others, it was a decade of popularity. Well, the next up, the 2010s, and we're featuring the Old Fashioned. Before we get into it, let's get this cocktail glass in the freezer. Now, if we're going to talk about the Old Fashioned, we really need to talk about the word cocktail. The word cocktail was referenced in the 1700s, but it was in the early 1800s it was defined as a potent concoction of spirits, bitters, sugar, and water, also known at the time as a bittered sling. Well, the Old Fashioned to many is the epitome of a cocktail. And throughout history, it has experienced many wonderful variations during its evolution. The goal is to accent or highlight the spirit with the other ingredients and to not overcome its true character. Well, when the old-fashioned cocktail was first published in the late 1800s, it was exactly that: spirit, bitters, water, and sugar. But it also had the accent of a lemon zest. In roughly the 1930s, then the Savoy Hotel published a cocktail book where both the orange and the cherry were combined in the same recipe. And that standard has stayed true since then. Well, I want to do a little something old school and new school by adding in a lemon zest along with the orange and the cherry. You see, I love the vibrancy that the lemon zest gives to this cocktail, the freshness, if you will. Well, let's start mixing it up. The first thing we want to do is to take a little bit of sugar. Now, many cocktail recipes will call for a sugar cube. Well, this is way too much. Let's start off with, say, like a quarter teaspoon of sugar, and that's sufficient. And to that, we'll want to add a little bit of water, just a tiny dash. And this is to help dissolve the sugar. You see, sugar doesn't dissolve that easily into alcohol. And so we want to dissolve it first into the sugar, or at least get it started. We'll also add in some bitters. I'm using Angostura bitters today, and we'll do 2 dashes. So there's 1 dash, 2 dashes. And this is the time that I also want to add in both the lemon zest and the orange zest. So let's take a sharp knife, take a nice little swath of lemon zest, and do the same for the orange. Now, laying it flat on my cutting board, I can very carefully take off the pith right off the back of that lemon zest. You see, I want to take that pith off so I can expose the pores and allow the oils from that peel to infuse into the cocktail. Do the same for the orange. Just take off that pith. And let's tear that in half and squeeze them right in there, expressing the oils out of the pores into the glass. And sometimes I like adding in a bar spoon of that beautiful cherry nectar, the same one that stores those natural cocktail cherries that you buy. Now let's add some bourbon. Today I've chosen the Woodford Reserve Distiller Select. It's a great bourbon, especially for an old-fashioned. It's round, luscious, and rich, and a very well-balanced spirit. It comes in at 45% alcohol by volume, which is 90 proof. And we're going to add to the cocktail mixing glass 60 mils, or 2 fluid ounces. And before I even add the ice, I want to give it a moment for that alcohol to pull out some of those oils from the orange and the lemon zests. Also, as I expressed the oils in there, some of them came up the glass a little bit. And so I want to kind of swirl it around to wash those down right into the spirit. All right, let's add some ice. You don't need to add too much ice. You want to have just enough ice where the cocktail comes into contact with that ice. Too much ice, and it's just going to melt down the sides of the glass and over-dilute the drink before it's properly chilled. And as you've probably heard me say before, if you don't have a fancy bar spoon, grab a chopstick. It works just as well. But I have a fancy bar spoon, so I'm going to use that. And approximate timing for stirring. Being that this is 45% alcohol by volume, I'm going to say somewhere between 45 to 60 seconds. It'll still be a little strong at that point, but it's going to go over new ice in the cocktail glass. Speaking of which, let's grab the cocktail glass from the freezer. Perfect. Nice and frosty. Let's add some ice to the cocktail glass. Now, I like to use cubed ice for this one, but I decided to use the ice that comes right out of my freezer because a lot of you at home, that's exactly what you've got going on. So I wanted to show you that it's not entirely necessary to use cubed ice, but cubed ice will melt a little slower than this one. So let's take that and pour this beautiful old-fashioned over new ice in a cold cocktail glass. Place that aside. And it's time to garnish. Now for garnishing, I'm going to use an orange zest. Cut another one off this orange here. And same as before, I'm going to lay it flat on my cutting board and very carefully slice the pith off the back of that orange peel. See, exposing all the nice pores from both sides. I'm going to trim it nice and clean here. Nice little orange zest that I will express the oils over the surface, give it a little twist, and drop it right in. And take one of these beautiful natural cherries and garnish with that as well. That, my friends, is a beautiful, classic old-fashioned. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button below and subscribe. Share it with your friends. If you want to check out more of these great videos, I'll see you again soon.